What's going on, good people? Today is Monday, October the 20th, 2025. The time is 9:37 a.m. Eastern Time. And you're on with another segment of Monday Morning Quarterback at The Bridge 45. Just breaking down my recap of college football scores, NFL scores, and baseball playoffs and other sports news that's going on, hockey scores, things of that nature. Big weekend in college football, NFL football. Two of the best words in sports game 7, which take place tonight. I'll get into that later. But let's jump into some college football real quick. My Miami Hurricanes, we let a big one slip against Louisville. The Cardinals, Louisville getting an upset win in Miami 24-21. Minnesota defeated Nebraska 24-6. Georgia in a shootout in a classic game defeated Ole Miss by the score of 43-35. Ohio State had no problem with Wisconsin. They defeated them 34-0 in Madison, Wisconsin. Indiana defeated Michigan State 38-3, which parlayed that into the coach getting an 8-year, $90+ million deal to coach the Indiana Hoosiers for the next 8 years. Indiana is known as a basketball school. We all know that. Isaiah Thomas and all those cats that won the championship back in the day. So Indiana has always been known as a basketball school. But the fact that their program is succeeding and doing what it's doing right now, I guess the alumni, the athletic director, and the program didn't want to wait and let him get snatched up by a Penn State or another big school that's looking for a head coach. So he has definitely done good for himself, and Indiana is rolling right now with a big win over Michigan State 38-13. Texas A&M in a shootout with Arkansas defeated them 45-42. Alabama over Tennessee 37-20. Arizona State defeated Texas Tech 26-22. Oregon had no problem with Rutgers defeating them 56-10. Vanderbilt in a huge upset win for over the LSU Tigers, defeating Vanderbilt defeating LSU 31-24. I believe they said that was their first win over LSU since 1990. It's the first time the program has had only one loss since like the 1950s. So this is not the same Vanderbilt that you were used to growing up. Georgia Tech defeated Duke 27-18. Notre Dame defeated USC in that classic rivalry 34-24. Oklahoma had no problem with South Carolina defeating them 26-7. And BYU defeated Utah in the Battle of the State of Utah, defeating them 24-21. Missouri in two overtimes defeated Auburn in a classic SEC matchup, 23-17. Virginia, they are a team to watch out for in the ACC with their huge win over Florida State a couple weeks ago, and they keep it going against Washington State. Get a 2-point victory, 22-20. South Florida had no problem with FAU defeating them 48-13. Overtime in a defensive battle. Texas defeated Kentucky 16-13. UAB defeated Memphis. That was a shocker there, defeating Memphis 31-24. Cincinnati had no problem with Oklahoma State, defeating them 49-17. This is definitely going to shake up some things in the top 25. Florida, as a result of them losing, they fired their head coach. Napier, he's no longer the head coach there at Florida. So Florida is another big program that is looking for another head coach along with Penn State. So it's a big weekend. We are in the thick of October. We're going into now the final. We're going now into the final weekend of October, and this is when contenders start to separate themselves in college football. And this is definitely the meat and potatoes of the schedule. This is where you're going to see who's ready for a conference championship, who could contend for a conference championship. The teams that have just been under the radar are no longer under the radar, because once you get into this part of the schedule, people starting to see who the real teams are, who the real contenders are in college football. So the rest of the college regular season is going to be exciting. I am definitely looking forward to it and can't wait to see what happens with it. Let's get into some action in the Shield, in the association known as the NFL. Huge wins that took place. We're going to start with the Steelers and the Bengals from last Thursday night. I did not see this one coming. Cincinnati gets a huge win, 33-31 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. I picked Pittsburgh to win, but Joe Flacco turned back the hands of time. Story for the Steelers: Aaron Rodgers had 249 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had 2 picks. Warren, the running back, had 127 yards rushing. And Freiermuth, I hope I'm saying his name right, he had 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. The story for the Cincinnati Bengals, Flacco had 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's the story of the game right there. Flacco turned back the hands of time. 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. Brown, the running back, had 108 yards rushing. Chase had a career night, 161 yards receiving, 1 touchdown. And Higgins also had 96 yards and a touchdown. So Cincinnati kept the door open for the AFC North. If they can continue this, waiting to Joe Burrow, if they can just stay afloat, and if Joe Burrow is able to come back, anything can happen. If Flacco is continued to be protected the way he's been, we all know he has a rocket arm. He's smart. He's a veteran. He's seen it all. He's done it all. He won a championship with the Ravens back in 2012. So he's not a rookie to this. He knows what to do. And if he's protected, as long as he's upright and not having to scramble or run for his life, because that's not a part of his game, he'll pick you apart. And when you got Chase and Higgins and this running back Brown running the rock like he did, they open the door. Score across the pond for the international games. The story was Los Angeles Rams. They get a huge win over the Jaguars, 35-7. Story for the Rams. Stafford had 182 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. Devontae Adams had 3 of those touchdowns. Ferguson also had a 31-yard touchdown catch. 4 players had sacks for the Rams. Story of the game for the Jaguars, Lawrence had 296 yards and a touchdown. He was sacked 7 times. Congratulations to Travis Hunter. He had 8 catches, 101 yards, and his first NFL touchdown came across the pond in London. So congratulations to him. That connection is probably going to be good for the Jaguars for the years to come. But the Rams get the win 35-7. Huge win for the Eagles in Minneapolis yesterday. They get the win over the Vikings 28-22. Story of the game for the Eagles, Hurts had 326 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times. Their receiving corps, that was the story of the last 2 weeks. How will Jalen Hurts respond? Because the passing game wasn't what it wanted to be. Saquon hasn't really gotten going yet. I don't expect him to, because Saquon had a historic year last year. He had over 2,000 yards rushing. I don't expect him to have that this year. So when you don't have your running back flowing like that, your passing game is important and is very critical. Jalen Hurts stepped up and answered the bell. 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I think he had a perfect quarterback rating. Devontae Smith had 183 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Brown had 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. Story for the Vikings, Wentz had 303 yards passing, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, sacked twice. Mason had 57 yards and 1 touchdown. Addison had 128 yards receiving. Justin Jefferson also had 79 yards receiving. In other breaking news for the Eagles, recently retired defensive end Brandon Graham, 2-time champ for the Eagles, is possibly thinking about coming out of retirement. Considering the state that their defensive line is going through now with Zadarius Smith retiring, Brandon Graham may want to give it one more go for a playoff push. Yeah, I guess he's saying he's been keeping himself in good shape. He stayed around the Philadelphia area, so he knows the ins and outs. He's a seasoned veteran. He knows what to do and not to do. I guess he said, I can give you a half a season, and depending on how they are, here we are going into the halfway mark of the season. I want to give one playoff push, and if you think your team is good enough to get back to a bowl, I can understand it. And of course, it probably won't be a crazy contract. It'll probably be incentive based, but he's made his money. He's done his thing. If he can help his team win another Super Bowl, why not? He's a fan favorite in the organization. So if he can help them get over the top and help them win another championship, it'll be worth it. So my Dallas Cowboys get a huge win over the Washington Commanders yesterday, 44-22. Story of the game for the Commanders. Daniels had 156 yards, 1 touchdown. He left, and a rushing touchdown. He left the game. He was sacked once, and he left the game after being sacked because it was like he got injured. I don't know if it was his knee or his ankle. Zach Ertz had a TD catch for the Commanders. Dak Prescott has been playing exceptionally well. Had another good day yesterday. He had 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Javonte Williams had 116 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. CeeDee Lamb in his return had 110 yards and 1 touchdown. And DaRon Bland, there goes that man again, had a 60-something yard pick 6 to the house for the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys defense answered the bell. They had at least 4 or 5 different people to get sacks, turnovers, pick six. The defense started looking like the Cowboys from back in 2023. And I know Eberflus and the coaching staff and Schottenheimer was happy because take this and build on it. Because the defense had been the story. Can you give them anything? They gave them that and then some. I know a lot of people are probably going to say, well, they didn't have Deebo Samuels. Well, they didn't have Scary Terry McLaurin playing and running on the receivers on the outside. My response to that is Deebo Samuels and Scary Terry does not play defense. So even if they don't play defense, and that's where the Cowboys showed their superiority yesterday is on the offensive side of the ball. You had running back 100 yards, receiver 100 yards. I think George Pickens almost had 100 yards receiving. So balanced football. Plus your defense stepped up and gave you sacks, pick six, turnovers. Good day by my boys. Kansas City Chiefs had absolutely no problem with the Las Vegas Raiders shutting them out at Arrowhead 31-0. Story of the game for the Raiders: Smith had 67 yards passing. He was sacked once. Their defensive guy Roberts had 18 total tackles. That was pretty much the story for the Raiders. Mahomes, the Chiefs are Mahomes had 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Pacheco had 1 touchdown. Rashee Rice in his return had 2 touchdowns, and Hollywood Brown had a touchdown. The Kansas City Chiefs are who the Kansas City Chiefs are. They're getting hot at the right time, and don't be surprised if they are back in the mix again to contend for the AFC title and to get back to a Super Bowl. Andy Reid is just, it doesn't matter how he starts the season, this player out, that player out. The man just knows how to get it done. That core, they've been together for so long. They've been doing this for 5-6 plus years. This is what they do. So don't be surprised if you see Kansas City being a contender for another championship. Cleveland Browns get a huge win over the Miami Dolphins yesterday in Cleveland 31-6. Story of the game for the Miami Dolphins: Tua had 100 yards passing, 3 interceptions. He was sacked twice. Achane had 82 yards rushing. Gabriel had 116 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked twice. Judkins was the man of the day. He had 84 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. And the Browns also had a pick 6 to get them a huge win in Cleveland. New England Patriots, Mike Vrabel revenge game. He went back into Nashville and get a huge win over the Titans 31-13. Story of the game for the Patriots: Drake May had 222 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times. Stevenson had 88 yards and a touchdown. Diggs had 69 yards receiving. Boot and Hopper both had a TD catch. Story of the game for the Titans: Ward had 255 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He was sacked 5 times. The defense for New England is good. Dyke had 70 yards and a touchdown. So, like I said, Mike Vrabel revenge game. The team that fired you and let you go back into their building and get a huge win in Nashville. So the Patriots are definitely the surprise team of this year. I did not see this coming for the Patriots, especially after they went in Buffalo and beat Buffalo last week. 2 weeks ago now. Carolina Panthers get a win over the Jets 13-6. It's really not that much to talk about. Bryce Young had 138 yards, 1 touchdown. Rico Dowdle had 79 yards rushing. Leggett had 92 yards and a touchdown. Jets, Taylor Fields was pulled as a starting quarterback. Tyrod Taylor came in. 126 yards, 2 interceptions. Johnson had 60 yards. The ownership for the Jets said that Aaron Glenn is safe for this year. I don't think they're going to fire him, being this is his first time being a head coach. 0-7. And I hate that for him because Aaron Glenn is a good dude. Great. He was a great player. Great defensive coordinator. I hate that for him being his first time and the Jets are stinking it up like this. So Panthers get the win over the Jets 13-6. Chicago Bears get a huge win over the New Orleans Saints 26-14 at Soldier Field in Chicago on the Lake. Story of the game for the Saints, who are now 1-6. Rattler had 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He was sacked 4 times. Olave had 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Story of the game: Caleb Williams had 172 yards and 1 interception. He was sacked once. DeAndre Swift, former Enon Eagle at the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and former Georgia Bulldog, had a great game: 124 yards and a touchdown. Menanje, hope I'm saying his name right, had 81 yards and a touchdown. So the Bears get a huge win at Soldier Field over the Saints 24-16. Another shocker. Indianapolis Colts go into LA and play the Chargers and gets a huge win on the West Coast on the road 38-24. Indiana Jones, man, story of the game for the Colts. Daniel Jones, 288 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was only sacked once. Jonathan Taylor is just a workhorse back, showed again what he is and what he's about. 94 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Warren and Pittman Jr. both had TD catches. Story of the game for the Chargers. Herbert had 420 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. Batson had 111. Bateson the second, had 164 yards and a touchdown. Old man Keelan Allen is still getting it done. He had 119 yards and 1 touchdown. But the Indianapolis Colts go on the road in LA, get a huge win. Colts are a contender. And I know a lot of people did not see that coming. I did not see it coming. So the fact that Daniel Jones got away from New York, got up under a coach in a system that believes in him, got him some right talent around him, and is flourishing. He could be comeback player of the year. He could be candidate for comeback player of the year, Daniel Jones. I'm saying it right now. And the season is not even halfway through yet. In a shootout, crazy game yesterday, the Broncos get a win over the New York Giants 33-32. A lot of people, if you are a Giants fan, you should be upset because they were up by 19 points in the fourth quarter, and the Broncos came storming back. Story of the game, Jackson Dart, he had a good game. 283 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, only 1 pick, and he also had a rushing touchdown. Bellinger, Scatterboo, and Johnson also had TD catches. Story of the game for the Broncos, Knicks had 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Dobbins had 81 yards rushing, and Sutton had 87 yards passing. Say that's the largest comeback win for the Broncos, I think, since 1983, the same year I was born. So that's just history for the Giants that you don't want to make, because with the momentum and the way things are going for the Giants right now, they should have had that win. That would have took their swagger, their confidence for a young team that's on the up and coming. They would have been like, we can beat anybody now. To go into Denver and have that lead, and only for the Broncos to battle back. Kudos to Denver because they didn't give up and they didn't quit. But the Giants should have had that game. The Giants should have had that game flat out. And it's crazy that they did not pull it out. But that's why you don't give up until the clock says 0 at the end of the fourth quarter. Green Bay Green Bay goes into Arizona. It's a crazy start for them. They got delayed by a lot. They didn't land like they were supposed to land because of some mechanical issues on their plane. But they get the win in Arizona 27-23. Story of the game for the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love had 179 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Jacobs had 2 rushing touchdowns. Kraft also had a receiving touchdown. Michael Parsons had the best game of his NFL career. He had 3 sacks of Jacoby Brissett in Arizona. Story of the game for the Cardinals, Brissett, he was sacked 6 times. 3 of those sacks came by Michael Parsons himself, new money man in Green Bay. But Brissett had 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. McBride had 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Green Bay gets a huge win in the desert in Arizona, 27-23 over the Cardinals. Sunday Night Football on nightcap. 49ers get a win over the Atlanta Falcons 20-10. Story of the game for the Falcons, Penix had 241 yards and 1 touchdown. He was sacked twice. Bijan Robinson had 41 yards rushing and had 52 yards passing and a receiving touchdown. Story of the game for the 49ers, Mac Jones had 152 yards and 1 touchdown. DMC, McCaffrey, showed why he is the number 1 back out there in the 49ers, and when he's healthy, one of the best backs in the league. He had 129 yards rushing, 2 rushing touchdowns, also had 72 yards receiving, so he had over 200 yards from scrimmage. The 49ers just find a way. With the way they've been hit with injuries, Brock Purdy hasn't returned to the starting lineup yet, and yet they're still either at the top of the division or tied with the division with the Rams. So Monday Night Football preview, we have another doubleheader. We have the Lions taking on the Bucks. The Bucks taking on the Lions in Detroit, and the Texans and Seahawks. My preview, I believe Tampa, Baker Mayfield is contending for the MVP. He has had a bounce back rejuvenation of his career, especially since he got to Tampa Bay. I think Mike Evans will return tonight to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because he's been out for a while now dealing with injuries. Tampa is a good team, but I don't think they're at full strength, and trying to go into Detroit and get a win is not easy. I'll take the Lions over the Bucs tonight in Detroit. And the Texans, I like C.J. Stroud. I like the young nucleus that they have, but it's hard to get a win in Seattle with that 12th man when they get to rocking and rolling. Sam Darnold, another person who left his team, had a good year in Minnesota, parlayed that into a $100 million contract, and is now balling with the Seattle Seahawks. So I'll take Seattle at home because it's hard to get a win up there in Seattle when that 12th man is rocking and rolling, and when that team is playing the ball that they're playing right now. So that's my preview for the Monday Night Football tonight. I'm taking the Lions over the Bucs, and I'm taking the Seahawks over the Houston Texans tonight. See what happens with that. Baseball playoffs I want to get into real quick. Congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers. They won the NLCS with a sweep over the Milwaukee Bucks. Brewers. I did not see that coming. I thought Milwaukee would have made it a little bit more competitive, but the defending champs showed why they are the defending champs and trying to go for back-to-back World Series rings. So congratulations to them. They are awaiting the winner of the Blue Jays and Mariners, who think the Blue Jays forced two of the best words in all of sports. Game 7. Game 7 will take place tonight in Toronto between the Mariners and the Blue Jays. The Mariners are seeking their first pennant in franchise history. They've never been to the World Series. So I thought they had a good chance to do it last night, but Toronto said, hold up, hold our beer, we're not done yet. And they forced a Game 7, which will take place tonight. Game 1 of the World Series will be this Friday, October the 24th. So definitely looking forward to see what happens tonight and what happens in Game 1 of the World Series. So that's another recap of Monday Morning Quarterback. I will be posting this up on YouTube at TheBridge45, TheBridge. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel. And until then, until next week, you guys stay safe. Have a good one, and I'll get at you guys next week. Peace.